With the state of today's economy, it's more important than ever to invest in products that last for years to come. As the seasons shift and get cooler, make sure your closet is stocked with durable layers that stand the test of time from American Giant. American Giant's clothes work harder and are wearable season after season. Their greatest hoodie ever made is made from the highest quality materials that are cut and sewn right here in the United States. So you're investing right back in your local community. Choosing American Giant means taking a stand for American manufacturing and hardworking Americans, something other mega corporations don't care about. From fleece to knit, all in a range of colors for versatile daily wear, American Giant delivers everyday pieces designed for everyday life. Feel the difference of quality, made-to-last clothes from American Giant. Get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20 at american-giant.com. That's 20% off your first order at american-giant.com with code STAPLE20.
If you've struggled with stress, balance, or burnout, and simply feel discouraged or even defeated, and if you're ready to move from force to flow and enjoy ultimate Zen success in your career, health, or relationships, then the Zen Success Show is for you. Your host, Carissa Sims, is an entrepreneur, corporate consultant, best-selling author, meditation teacher, and healer who has found her own Zen success. Here's your host, Carissa Sims.
Welcome to this week's episode of Zen Success. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Gary Sprouse. Gary is extremely passionate about bringing happiness into people's lives through humor, compassion, and understanding. He's committed to helping people improve their mental health and has a unique perspective on stress that no one else is talking about. A groundbreaking way to define where most human stress originates. This new insight and the tools he developed to deal with stress are changing lives. He has taken everything he has learned about stress reduction and crafted his book, Highway to Your Happy Place. I love it. A roadmap to less stress. Yes, I want that for everyone.
I know, right? That's exactly
Yes. He aims to have everyone living in their happy place. Welcome, Dr. Sprouse.
Well, Carissa, thank you for having me on. And I hope that your audience feels like they're in their happy place by the time we get done.
Oh, that's your goal for this episode.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So we're going to get into that. We are going to define what the happy place is, and you can come up with your own definition as well. But I have a feeling it feels really good and joyful, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, a little teaser there. Well, what's going on in your personal life? Do you have any trips coming up or anything exciting happening?
Yeah, two things. So first off, my wife, literally tonight we're leaving to go to Portugal. And I had the honor of winning this award. It's called the Stevie Award. And it's an international award. There's 3,800 people that apply, and I ended up getting a silver medal. So it's a lifetime achievement. And so I have to go to Portugal to get it. And so that's
amazing. And there's a ceremony.
Absolutely. I get to wear a tuxedo. My wife has this beautiful dress. So yeah, it'll be nice.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing. That is incredible. And congratulations.
And then on Sunday, so it was a couple days ago, my friend said, "Hey, would you be in the officiant at our wedding?" And I'm like, "What? I'm not official anything." And she's like, "No, you just go on this website." So I go on this website and goes, "Do you want to be an officiant?" And I click yes, and it goes, "Congratulations." And I'm like, "Wait, that's it? I didn't have to take a test, right?" What? I'm just all of a sudden I'm official. So we had the wedding on Sunday, and I wrote this, couple minute speech, and it went really well. So I was like, so now I'm in the Rotary Club. So I went to the meeting today, and I was like, "Hey, anybody that wants to get married, just let me know. I'm good at this now," right? So
yeah,
if you need an officiant, I'm here, right?
You've got one under your belt, so you're a certified expert, according to the internet. Yes.
Exactly. There you go.
Okay. Well, I'd love to hear more about your books. What led you to write Mindset Matters with Jack Canfield?
Yeah, so here's what I found out after doing all the research for my own book. what I realized is one of the things that comes down to is how we view a problem, how we see our life has this amazing, incredible impact on how we respond to it. And so what I learned is that there's a whole bunch of crap that's always gone around us, but it's really more important how we react to it. And that's what really makes the difference. And so when you check your mindset and you start adjusting your mindset, things that seem horrible can seem, all of a sudden they seem okay, right? So I've had some things happen to me in my professional life that other doctors that I met just would have quit or stopped doing it or changed jobs. And I'm like, no, because of my mindset, it actually ended up being, I mean, I wouldn't want other people to have to go through what I went through, but by doing it, it made me better. So it made me make decisions that I would have never made before that now allowed me to retire, have plenty of money to retire. And yeah, it was so, and all it came down to how you viewed the problem.
Interesting. Can you talk about one of those problems that changed your life forever?
Yeah, wow. So I'm in front of my board and they're threatening to take my license away. And I'm like, wait, what? What are you talking about? I've been just taking
Can I
care of my
ask a
patients.
question? Are you a what kind of doctor are you?
I'm a primary care doctor.
Primary care. Okay.
So what was going on is I was taking care of a lot of patients with chronic pain. So I've been doing this long enough that there wasn't a pain management specialty when I started. And so when I first started, we were being told that we're under treating patients with pain. So people got more aggressive with treating their pain. Then the pendulum swung, and now all of a sudden we're causing drug addicts. And I'm like, no, that's not true. Patients with chronic pain are not drug addicts. They're people that have chronic pain and they want their pain to go away. But my board did not see it that way. And they were trying to take my license away, saying, you're over treating, you're doing this, you're doing that. I'm like, you can check my roster. There isn't a single patient that's done worse because of my care, right? But while you're there in front of the board, it's a very intimidating place to be, and your license is being threatened. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, what am I supposed to do if I don't have a medical license? My whole identity had been being a doctor. And so what I looked at it was, okay, first off, I know that I'm doing things the right way. I know that whatever I'm doing is the same thing I've been doing for 20 years and less. Actually, I was trying to be compliant with what they wanted. So these people have a different agenda than me, right? It's they're what I got out of this was the board was in their process of trying to get primary care doctors to stop doing pain management. They only want a pain management specialist doing it. And you're like, okay. And it's like, but I'm like, but I don't have that many pain management experts in my area. And I know my patients and I've been taking care of them for 10, 20 years. So I know what's going on. But they were like, no. But so what that did was it made me go, wait, what else would my identity be if I couldn't be a doctor? And so what I realized was, well, I could be an author. I could be a basketball player. I could be a stress management coach. I could be right. So it made me figure out what else I could do for my identity. So when I retired, I didn't go through a lot of the struggles that other retirees go through, like, who am I? What am I supposed to do with myself? My wife went through this. She woke up in the morning going, okay, I didn't like what I was doing, but now I don't have anything to do. Like that was work, right? So it's like, so by the board making me do that, when I actually did retire, I was well prepared for it.
Wow, that is so beautiful and such a helpful reframing. And when was this? Was this like 20 years ago or something?
Oh, wow.
That where they
No,
wanted you to
10,
recommend,
yeah, 5, 10 years ago.
oh, 5, 10 years ago.
Not
Okay.
that long ago.
Not that long ago. Yeah. Okay. Because I was just curious. I'm an occupational therapist, but I'm not practicing anymore. But I just had a question about that pain management specialists, so I find that intriguing.
Well, interesting. I just read a blog and it was talking about chronic pain management. And the blog was saying exactly the same things that I was saying to my board, which is the CDC came out with a letter like 10 years ago that said, try to keep people under a low dose and stuff like that. And what this article said was that everybody misread the article. The article was talking about new patients who hadn't been on pain management before. It was not talking about people who had been on pain management for years. And so all of a sudden people were trying to take patients who'd been on chronic pain medicine for decades, taking them off like suddenly. And because they didn't want to get in trouble, and like what happened to me, and they were like, well, I'm not doing that. So a whole bunch of doctors just stopped doing pain management. So all my patients were running around going, well, who's going to take care of us? And it's like, and then the people who were doing pain management were doing it to protect themselves, not necessarily treat their patients, if that makes sense. So they didn't want to get in trouble. So they would minimize how much pain medicine they would give people. They'd recommend all these other things that didn't work because they didn't want to get in trouble. And you're like, so the patients with chronic pain to this day are continuing to suffer because doctors are afraid to treat them with enough medicine to keep their pain under control.
Yeah, that's so fascinating because of the possible addiction to pain medication. That is like,
Yeah, so what I
yeah.
say to people is like, I'm not sure why healthcare did this, but they lumped people who have drug addiction problems and people who have chronic pain. And initially they took out people who had cancer. So people who had cancer, you could give them whatever you want because they were going to die. But then now that everybody's got lumped in, so if you're taking an opioid, you're all in the same category. And what I said to them is, look, people that are in chronic pain are not looking to get high. They don't want to get high. If I gave them too much medicine, they'd come to back and say, Doc Sprouse, like that medicine is too strong. Like we need to cut it back. People that are having addiction problems, they want the high. They want that. I feel fuzzy. I don't under. And what happens to them is they have to take more and more to get that same feeling. And so then they end up
Mhm.
taking more doses and more doses. People with chronic pain, they could be on the same dose for 10, 20 years because all they want is their pain under control.
Hmm. Oh, interesting. It's really great to hear your perspective. I have a spiritual outlook on pain, and I talk about the purpose of pain, and so it's kind of interesting. But
Well, I'd
it's
love to
all
hear
it's
that.
all wonderful.
What's that? Let me hear that.
Well, that our body has a message, there is a purpose, there may be something, the origin of the pain may be something that you're not expecting. So I talk to the pain, talk to the
Awesome.
body.
Yeah. Well, I have people name their pain. So they go, Tom was really acting up today. And you're like, that helps them.
Oh, that's
Right?
neat.
I had one guy that had like 4 or 5 different sources of pain. So this week it was Pete, that it was his kidney stone, and the other one was his back. And it was like, I was like, so what's going on with Tom today? Right. But what I
Yeah.
found was that to me, pain, just as you said, it's a message. And it's telling us that there's something being damaged in our body. And
Hmm.
the problem is with chronic pain is we haven't either been able to find the source of it or we can't fix it. So there's this
Hmm.
chronic pain going on and your body's going, hey, this isn't working. This isn't working. And if we were a caveman, right, we wouldn't be living this long. Like cavemen, the average age was like 30 years old. And so you would die before you got into chronic pain. Or if you couldn't run away, some saber-toothed tiger would eat you, right? Either way, you didn't live in chronic pain. So we now have the luxury of being safe. So we can live for 80 years. But that also means we can live with chronic pain, which is really difficult. And and I used to call it palliative care because
Hmm.
like I know it's not going to go away. And it's like, so
Mm.
yeah, yeah. And I think
Yeah.
what my job had been as a pain manager, like not only to adjust their medicines and get them into treatments and find occupational therapists or physical therapists to help them, but it was also to give them hope. And hope is one of the
Hmm.
places, and it's one of the rooms in our happy place. Like if you have hope, you can say, my life really is crappy right now, but I hope that it's going to get better. And by having that hope,
Oh.
that makes you be able to deal with the stuff that's going on right now.
Yeah, so let's get into that. So, what's the main message you want people to know from your book,
That's
Highway to Your
interesting,
Happy
right?
Place?
So I started writing the second half of the book first, which was all these different stresses. But when I said to people, like, if you didn't have so much stress, where would you be? And they looked at me like, Doc, I don't know. Like, I never got that far. I just wanted to have
Ah!
less stress, right? So I'm like, well,
So they
wait,
didn't have any
they
hope,
didn't, right?
really.
Well, they didn't. It's like not that they didn't have hope. They just didn't know where they were going. So if I put
Okay.
in like I want to go somewhere into my GPS, it won't get me there because it doesn't know where somewhere is, right? So I needed to find a destination. I need a place where people can go, oh, I'm trying to get there. And what I realized was everybody's happy place is different, right? So my wife, like I love the beach. My wife thinks the beach is a big kitty litter box. And I'm like, So it's like, so our happy places aren't decorated the same. But when I sat down and started writing about a happy place, what I realized is everybody's happy place has the same rooms. They just have a different decorator. So they have different paint on the walls or different pictures. They have different furniture, but they're the same rooms, right? So when I went through and made the list, so the rooms are things like feeling contented, having pleasure, having hope, feeling connected, feeling accepted and appreciated, feeling safe, right? All these things put together, feeling fulfilled. And so when you put all these together, you're like, oh man, what you realize is I can get there. It's not even that hard. Like, yeah, all I have to do is recognize. So I was talking about pleasures the other day on a radio spot I did. And I say, in our world today, we've gotten to where we only have big things. So I was officiant at a wedding. And I'm like, people were excited. Oh, this is such a big day. Well, so everybody's happy because it's a big day, right? But I'm like, you realize there was 1,000 things that happened today that gave us a little jolt of pleasure. We don't have to wait for that day when there's the big jolt of pleasure when you get married or you graduate or your baby's born. 1,000 a day. So if you thought you had 1,000 little pleasures every day, what? Yeah, your happy place is a whole lot easier to get to. So I was writing like, so I woke up this morning. Yes, 10 points. I got food in my refrigerator. I got running water. I got indoor plumbing. What? Yeah, so it's good stuff. I call it my 50-point wake up. So just by waking up, I get 50 points. And so I put together a puzzle. I talk about life as a puzzle, right? So I did a 360 piece puzzle. So that meant 359 times I go, ooh, that was nice. I got a piece together, right? And then at the end, I get one big jolt going, woo, the whole puzzle's together. But if you don't recognize those little jolts because you're so busy waiting for the big one, or you're so overwhelmed that you can't even pay attention to the little ones, you miss it.
I see. I see. It's the accumulation of these little moments
Yeah.
that could be your happy place. Is that what you're suggesting?
Absolutely. Well, that's
Mm.
one of the rooms. So pleasure and feeling love are one of the rooms of the happy place. And so if you like, I talk about like you go and wake up your kid to go to school and they're crabby and they're not happy. And you're like, instead of being annoyed that you have to go wake up your kid, be happy that you have a kid and that you can wake them up, right? It's like, because they're not going to be there forever. And it's like, so when you start going from changing obligation to opportunity, well, then
Uh,
life looks real different.
yeah, that's a lot lighter energy when you even say that word from obligation to opportunity or even being grateful, gratitude.
Absolutely. That's one of the rooms there. Yeah. See,
How
you're
do you
making the rooms for me. Thank you very much.
I'm making the rooms for you. Okay, awesome. That makes my heart expand. So, how do you define happy place?
Well, so the happy place is then of all these different things that we feel. So what I say is like, hey, go around in your life, have gratitude, feel fulfilled, try to feel safe, feel appreciated, all these different things. So if you're feeling all that stuff, then you are in your happy place. And what I realized was that we're meant to be in a happy place. And then you go, well, what's keeping us from there? Well, that's where the second half of my book comes in, which is our stresses. And here's my insight. So, what's keeping us from the happy place are these stresses. And so, when I started doing the research for the second half of the book, the books that I read go, wow, losing your spouse is really stressful. It's number one. And losing your job is number two. And fear of getting cancer is number three, right? They gave you this list. And then they would give you a generic prescription and say, well, go meditate or go to a Buddhist church or, yeah, right? All these different things, go exercise, right? I'm like, not that they didn't work, but if you don't understand what ingredients go into what makes losing your spouse so horrible, then you're not going to be able to be efficient and effective. And so what I realized was, and this is my insight, and I'll say this and then I'll have to explain it. So the majority of human stresses are really the side effects to our incredible skills. So what that means is we have the amazing ability to say, hey, next week at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, you and I are going to have a meeting and we'll do a podcast, right? So we're in predicting the future. We're envisioning the future, which is this amazing skill. Like it's incredible. And only humans have it, right? But, and here's the key, is the side effect is then you have to worry about it. So my 1-year-old grandson doesn't have that ability yet. He can't envision the future. So he's not sitting at the breakfast table eating his banana going, Dad, how are we going to pay for college? Right? it doesn't
Such
come
a
up,
good
right?
analogy.
He
It's
doesn't
such a
have
good
that.
analogy.
He literally can't worry because he
Yeah.
can't envision the future. But we can. And so the question is like, well, then how do we worry less? Or how, and this is what I say to people. Here's what I want. I don't want you to stop worrying. I want you to worry efficiently. So what I don't want is you waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, sweating with your heart racing, going, oh my God, I forgot. Right. And your head's going over and over and over and over and over again. That's what I'm trying to avoid because that's what gets people into trouble.
Right, right. And even worrying for other people. I know my
Absolutely.
mom worries about
Absolutely.
me. It's just funny. Well, what do you think about that?
Well, so here's what I say, and I'm going to tell your audience how to get rid of half their stress, right? So I'd go to my page, say, "Tell me what you're worried about," and they're like, "Doc, I worry that I worry too much." I'm like, "Yeah, well, then you probably do, right?" But I go, "What are you worried about?" And they're like, "Well, my neighbor just got diagnosed with cancer, and my mom just fell and broke her hip, and my son is in Atlanta and he's having trouble." And I'm like, "Wait, I didn't ask you what other people worried about. I was like, what are you worried about?" So what I tell people, and I find this, and I'll be a little sexist here, is that this is much more of a problem for women than it is for men because women tend to share their problem with others. And so all of a
Mhm.
sudden they're like sponges and they just suck in everybody's stress and they take it as their own.
Mm.
And what I
Yeah,
say
yeah,
to
yeah.
people, hey, listen, your stresses are a 10. Everybody else's are a 5. That doesn't mean they're a 0. That doesn't mean I don't pay attention to my mother broke her hip and my neighbor got cancer and my son is having trouble, but it's a 5. Me, as a 10, right? So when you start doing that, and this is what I had to do as a doctor. Like if I went to work every day and said everybody's problem is my problem, I would drown within half a day, right? So what I had
Mhm.
to do is say, okay, my problems are 10s, your problems are a 5. So I'm going to do everything I can to make your life better and solve your problem, but it's a 5. And so that made me have it had to be a wall where I go protect myself, where I'd say, okay, your problem isn't my problem, but it had to be thin enough that I could be empathetic and go, okay, I get that it is a problem, and here's what we're going to try and fix it. But literally, you get rid of half of your stresses just by giving everybody else's a 5 and yours a 10.
Interesting. So is that the part of the book where you say a roadmap to less stress? What is the roadmap? Like, what is the first step? Is it identifying your baseline?
Yes. Well, what I find is that we use all these words like if you say worry, and I would say to patients, tell me what that means to you. And they're like, well, and they would think they had an idea, right? They know what it feels like, they know what it sounds like, they can use it in a sense. But when I asked them to define it, they're like, it's it's worry, right? And I would say, look, see, as a doctor, like 300 years ago, when we said what's diabetes, we would say, oh, it's too much sugar. And so your answer then, their solution was, okay, we'll eat less sugar, which worked for some people. But if you had type 1 diabetes, no, didn't help you at all, right? But over time, what we learned was, oh, diabetes has something to do with insulin and its transport and your stomach hormones and your liver and your this and that, right? So now the tools that we have in 2025 are like 100 times better because we now have better idea what diabetes means. And what I'm finding with stress is we just talk about it in these generic terms like that's stressful. And you're like, what my book talks about, these are the ingredients. So I've met people who got divorced and it was the happiest day of their life. And I've met people who are
Me.
divorced. Yeah. I've met people who are divorced and it was the
I'm
worst day of their
divorced.
life, right? So what the
Yeah.
heck? What's going on? And that's because of these ingredients, because people are worried and they're regretting and they feel guilty and they're overwhelmed and their self-esteem takes a
Mhm.
hit and they get I
Mhm.
can't, like, if you lose your spouse, I can't bring your spouse back, but I can help you have less guilt and less regret and less worry and less that I can do something about, which then helps you deal with whatever the stress is in your life.
Yeah. And what do you think is the main cause of stress?
Well, there's a lot, but I mean, again, the stresses that we have as humans are unique to humans because we're the only ones with these skills. So, worry, as we talked about, is like we can envision the future, but then we can focus on all the bad things that could happen. And the smarter you are and the more informed you are, the more things you have to worry about. You're like, oh, like I literally was watching something on nannies and I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. What not? Right. So we can freak ourselves out because now we can worry about anything that happens, not just around us, but it's anything on the planet, anything in the universe. Because what do you watch when we watch our movies? Like some alien's going to take us over, or some asteroid's going to run into the Earth. So now we have to worry about the whole universe, and then we have to worry about it forever. What? That's that's a lot to worry about, right? So I find worry is probably the thing that we do the most.
I see.
Yeah. But I also find that feeling guilty that we did something wrong, man, that eats people up for years.
Yeah. And so, what is the difference between guilt and regret, and how? Oh, you have a process for reducing guilt, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
here's one of the things. As I'm writing this book, I was kind of using guilt and regret interchangeably. But as I started
Interesting.
examining them, I was like, oh no, these are totally different things. They have some similarities, but they're way different. So guilt is I broke a rule. I did something wrong, right? And it could be a written law, like I went too fast on the highway, or it could be an
Mm-hmm.
unwritten rule, like I wore white after Labor Day, or whatever that rule is.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah,
interesting to
that's a
me.
bad one. I'm
I
just
know,
kidding.
right? Okay. So regret is I made a bad choice. Well, that's way different, right? So what I would say, I was doing seminar and I had men and women in the group, and I'd say, write down something that you feel guilty about. And literally all the women were like, shh, ready, 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 ready. All the men were looking at the ceiling going, I can, nah. Right? It was so funny. It was very different between the sexes. Every single woman wrote down, I feel guilty that I didn't spend enough time with my kids. Every single one. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah,
I'm not going to have that one.
yeah.
I
I said to them, well,
prioritize my
that's not
kids.
really guilt, right? That's actually regret. Because with regret, you made a choice
I
that
see.
work was important and you had to make money to pay the bills so that your kids could survive. And so you had to make a balance in your work life. And what you're saying now is you wish you chose to put more to your kids and less to work. And I get that, right? And I said that about 3 different seminars. In the fourth seminar, a lady came up to me. She goes, Dr. Sprouse, you're missing something.
Haha.
Partly because I'm not a woman, right? What she said is that there's an unwritten rule that women should take care of their kids. So when you're out working, then there is a certain amount of guilt that you've broken that rule, that you're letting somebody else take care of your kids. And so there is a little sliver of guilt in there that you should have been taking care of your kids instead of
Right.
working. So there was a little sliver of guilt, but it was much more regret. And so what I found then was like how you solve those problems is very different. So with guilt, there's a 4-step process that I learned from this guy named Desmond Tutu, is a minister, and his
I
daughter.
know him.
Yeah, he and his
I
daughter
met
wrote
him
this
at
book.
Agape.
Did you
Yeah.
really? Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. He came to speak at Agape many
Nice,
times.
nice.
Hmm.
Anyway, so he has this 4-step process where you sort of, what he says is that guilt actually eats you up. And it's like, and not forgiving people eats you up. And so what he talks about is like, okay, he's not saying you just ignore that somebody did something wrong to you. What you say is, hey, I'm going to tell my story because too many people have secrets. And the secret sits inside of you and just sucks up energy and makes you feel bad. So telling the story is one of the ways to get out of this process. 2 is then to tell the story, name the hurt. Like you did that and you hurt me. So there's a story that I'd heard where the lady was she lived in a city and a guy came and killed her son.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
probably the most intense example you could give
Ever,
ever.
right? So here's what happened. So through the courtroom scene, so she, didn't like this guy, right? She hated this guy. He killed her son. But through the court process, they got to know each other. And what she realized was this guy was hurting. Like he was kind of like homeless and didn't have a family and he was all
Mm.
alone. And interestingly, she ended up going through this process. So she told the story. She goes, look, I didn't like that you did this to my son. And she told people about it. But then she said, you know what? It's hurting me to hate you. So I'm gonna forgive you. And I think we heard this with Charlie Kirk's wife, right? She did the same thing. She
Oh
said,
my God, what an angel.
yeah, I'm going to forgive you. Here's the end of the story was fascinating. So what ended up happening was she ended up making the fourth step is you then either renew the relationship or you get rid of the relationship, right? So you move on. You go, okay, look, you cheated on me. like I can't forgive you. I mean, I can forgive you, but I can't be back with you anymore because now I can't trust you. So in this lady's case, she ended up befriending the guy who killed her son. And the relationship, she renewed it and became beneficial for both of them because he became the son that she lost and she became the mother he never had. And it was like, oh, yeah, I wish the world would work like that, right?
Wow. Yeah, I read a book called Left to Tell. Have you heard of that book?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay. Yeah, it's about the genocide in Rwanda.
Oh, yeah, well,
And yeah, and the similar process that she went through. But it's just they killed her entire family, basically. And she had to forgive many people. There was a lot of people that killed.
well, and the Tutus
Um,
went through, and they were in South Africa, and so they
yeah.
had this whole very different process they went through to change from, the apartheid to what it is now. And instead of
Uh-huh.
putting everybody in jail and killing people, they forgave them, and it was like it made it all different process.
Oh my God, that's incredible because it's like seeing their soul. It's like seeing the human in them. It's so beautiful. And this is good for me too because I'm digging deep into realizing where do I have guilt? Where do I have left to forgive, somebody? So I'm excited. I want to do this process also.
Oh, it's good, right?
So
And then regret
yes.
is way different, right? So regret now is going, you made a choice. And again, this is like my dog does not have choice. If she's hungry, she's eating. If she's not hungry, she's not eating. If she has to go to the bathroom, she's gone. Like, and it's like we have the choice. So we can say, hey, I want to go do this. You're like, nah, let's go do that, right? So we're the only organism that has regret because we're the only organism that has choice. And so when we have choices, then you go, okay. So I use myself as an example. I hired a new office manager, and she said, "Oh, your computer system is outdated, and you need a new one." And you're like, "Okay." So she picked this one that she knew very well, and I go, "But you're the only one that knows this, so you're not going anywhere, right?" And she's like, "No, no, no. I've turned down jobs that pay me $10 an hour more because I really like here." Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "Because I really need you, because nobody else is gonna know how to do this." So I bought the computer before it ever came. She came to me and said, "Oh, somebody offered me $20 an hour more, so I'm leaving." And I'm like, wait,
I'm
what?
never gonna leave you.
Yeah, I know, right? So now I'm regretting my choice, right? I'm going, oh, why did I make that decision? Right. But what I
Yeah.
realized was because choices are about the future. And I'm trying to predict what's going to happen in the future. So it's never going to be 100%. Like
Yeah.
we're good, but we're not that good. So there's always going to be something that comes up. So what I do is go back to the decision I made at the time I made it with the information that I had. Oh, that was a good decision. But now that now the circumstances have changed, it doesn't look as good. But I can't beat myself up with regret because at the time I made the decision, it was fine.
Yes, I see. I see. And regret could be something, I mean, I wouldn't say a lot. I mean, I don't know, but it seems like some people have regret when they're about to die. Oh, like you said, I should have spent more time with the kids, or I worked too much, or maybe they wanted to travel more. So would that be an example of like traveling or not living your purpose or not writing that book you've always wanted to, like dying with your
Yeah,
music still in you?
exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Hmm.
So one of the things that I tell people, and I've read this in very different, many people write about this, but it's like live your life like it's your last day, right? It's like because you never know when things are going to change. So don't have regrets because do the things that you want to do now versus waiting and then not being able to later on.
Yes. And that can help reduce your stress because you
Absolutely.
don't realize it. I mean, some people don't realize it at the time that they're making a choice that may cause them stress. Is that correct? With the
Yeah, well,
regrets?
so I talk about that. In fact, I was just writing this morning.
Oh,
So,
perfect. I
so
love it.
people tend to live their life with I have tos, I shoulds, I must tos.
Mm.
These are expectations and obligations. Like I have to do this, I should do that, I ought to do this. Which what that does is it takes away choice. Then you go, well, I don't have a choice, I just have to. Like I have to go to work. Well, do you? And you're like, well, when you see life as a series of choices, then it puts some control back in your life. The choices might be bad things. They might be choosing between bad and worse, but there's still a choice. And when you say that choice, so I'll give you an example. So one of my patients was nearing retirement. He was 1 year away from retirement. And I'm like, what? Why are you working that last year? And he goes, well, because my pension will be bigger if I work that last year. It'll make me 20 years instead of 19 or whatever it was, right? And he goes, and I go, so what's the problem? He goes, well, my boss is being a pain in the butt and he's giving me all these crappy assignments because he doesn't want me here. He wants me out. He wants to bring in somebody younger who I can pay less. So, and I go, well, so what are you going to do? I go, why don't you just retire? He goes, because I want that extra money. And I'm like, okay. But he didn't see it as a choice. Like, I have to do that extra year or two.
Yeah.
Money, right? So when I said to him, think of this as a choice. He goes, what do you mean? I go, well, you could retire if you wanted to. You're choosing not to retire. So that means you've decided that working an extra year to get that extra money is worth the hassle of being at work for another year. And so when he started thinking of it in terms of a choice, then he goes, Dr. Sprouse. I'm like, what? He goes, you know what? I have like 400 sick days. And I'm like, yeah. I don't know if you never got sick in 20 years, but he goes, here's
6
what I'm
days. So
gonna do.
that equals a year.
Yeah, right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take off 1 week a month. So every month I'm going to take off a week. So that means I'll work 3 weeks and then take off a week, and then I'll work 3 weeks for a year. And you're like, oh, right. So now that he thought of it as a choice, then he goes, okay, well, I want the benefit, but I got to make it less onerous. So I'm just going to take a week off every month. And then the problem was solved. So then because he saw it as a choice, he didn't have to, and he didn't, it wasn't all painful. Because it was a choice, he was able to figure out a way to make it a more acceptable choice.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard of people having that schedule of taking off 1 week a month to travel and explore, and it sounds amazing.
Well, I
I
will say that when I came into practice, there was an older physician who was mentoring me, and what he told me is at least a week a quarter. He wasn't a week a month,
okay.
but a week a quarter. That was a little more doable, right? And so I was doing that, and when I wasn't, if I got too busy and I didn't do that, oh, I could tell there was a difference. Like the stress would just sort of build up until you got away. And it's like, yeah. And being a doctor is a very stressful profession because you're dealing with people's lives and you're dealing with the family who's dealing with the people's lives and you're dealing with boards and your insurance companies and administrators. And yeah, there's a lot of pressure on you. And yeah, you need to get away sometimes to decompress. And now
Yeah.
I'm retired. So now I'm in permanent vacation. So
Yeah. But you're still doing things that you love, like you're doing podcast interviews, you're promoting your book, being creative. It feels like you have purpose, which is also beneficial, correct?
yeah. So one of the rooms in the happy place is feeling fulfilled, right? And there's three
Mm.
parts to that fulfillment. One is learning. So it turns out humans are incredibly curious because we had to be. We had to like go around our environment to find out where the dangers were and to find out where the food was, right? So we're very curious. So curiosity is actually a very pleasurable thing. So being in a place where you get to learn something new is really good. Two is sharing. And so we lived in a group environment. And so if I caught a fish and you didn't, I would share and give you some of my fish. But if you found berries and I didn't, you'd give me some of your berries. So sharing became incredibly important for us to survive as an organism. And then third thing, and you've mentioned this, is purpose. And my first question was like, what does that mean, purpose? What does that mean, right? And what I came up with is it's what you wake up in the morning and you're excited to do. So your purpose might be, for me, I didn't change my purpose. Like as a physician, my job was to make people as healthy as I could make them, right? Now as an author, my job is to make them the same. It's the same thing. I'm trying to make their lives happier and healthier. It's the same process. I'm just using different tools now. So before it was a stethoscope and a prescription pad, and now it's a book and me speaking. So it's like, so the purpose didn't change. Now my wife, she struggled, right? So she was doing the billing for my office for 10 years and she hated it. And I would say, honey, look, we can get somebody else to do this. You don't have to do this. We can free you up. And she would look at me very seriously, say, why? I'm not doing a good job? And I'm like, yeah, no, you're doing a great job, but you don't have to do this, right? So when I retired, that meant she could retire. And so even though she hated doing the billing, it gave her something to do. So in the morning when she would wake up after she retired, she would look at me like, what am I supposed to do now? And I'm like, I don't know, right? We'll have to figure this out. So we've now, over the last year, she's now developed a purpose. So now she works at a place called Haven Ministries where she's helping out. They take in furniture and then they resell it to people who are in need, right? She has a garden that she uses. She's become a beekeeper, and so you can see
Oh, how
now. Yeah,
wonderful.
you can see that now she's filled up her life with other stuff, and we've gotten to travel a lot. So we're getting ready to go to Portugal and Greece. So, yeah, so I can see her now feeling a lot more comfortable when she wakes up in the morning that she has something to do.
Yeah, that's
Something
amazing.
that
Oh,
it's not just something to do. It's something that makes you feel excited and happy, right? So
yeah, not just like meaningless
right,
tasks. Your
right.
wife sounds amazing. And
Oh,
it's,
here's the problem. She doesn't think she is. It's crazy, right? I'm like, you're like a crazy
oh,
lady. She goes, whatever. I'm like, yeah.
she just needs a goddess training with me to receive, become the
Yeah,
goddess that she
maybe.
is.
Maybe that would be nice because
Be-
whatever I'm saying isn't getting through. So
Uh,
she's close to
well,
the situation.
yeah. Well, what is the secret of the shoe boxes that helps people
Oh,
stop feeling overwhelmed?
well, so one of the things that I've been seeing in our culture is more and more people are overwhelmed. And you're like, what the heck is going on? Why are so many people overwhelmed? And one of the things that I'm finding is, humans are adaptable and we can change. But right now, change is happening so quickly that we're struggling. And two, because of social media, which has this incredible power. Like we literally have every book that's ever been written, it's on our phone, right? But the side effects of social media are all the seeing in real time, all the bad things that are going on in the world that does stuff to us, right? So what I see, again, I'm going to use my dog. My dog does not get overwhelmed. She has one problem at a time. I'm hungry. I got to go to the bathroom. There's only one at a time, right? But humans have the ability to handle 5, 10, 15, 20 things, juggling these balls in the air. So we can get overwhelmed. And what I see is people go, this is the word I use, they lump. You're like, what's that? So people go, oh, my this happened, and then that happened, and then I got this, and then this went on, and they look around for things to throw on top of the heap, and they end up with this black mold of crap that they don't like. I don't know what to do with this, right? And they get past their coping skills. And once you get past your coping skills, then any little thing becomes a big deal because you have nothing left to handle it, right? So my shoebox idea is to say, look, the answer to lumping is compartmentalization. And what that means is let's keep every one of these problems as separate as possible. Obviously, some of these are related, but the more separate you keep them, then the less overwhelming they are. Because what I found is when I talk to people about their stresses, I go, well, if that was the only stress you had, would that be overwhelming? They're like, well, no. Or what if that? No, no, right? It's only when you lump them together that's when
Mm.
it gets overwhelming. And so the shoe boxes are this picture that I want people to have in their head. So listen up, audience. So if you walked in your bedroom and there was 100 shoe boxes, and the bottom was here, and the lid was there, and the left shoe was here, and the right shoe was there, and there's hundreds, and they're all spread out all of your room. That would be overwhelming, right? But if you come into that same room with the same amount of shoe boxes, and now the bottom's there, and the shoes are inside, and the lid's on top, and they're stacked neatly in a closet, same amount of shoes and shoe boxes, but now it's not overwhelming. And now you just take down one shoe box, look at it, figure out what's going on, put the lid back on, put it back up on the shelf. That's not overwhelming. And when you do that, so go from lumping to compartmentalization to shoe boxes, then life isn't so bad.
Okay, I can see that. What is Zen success for you?
I'm not sure what you mean by that question.
Think about it. Zen
Yeah.
success. What do you think of when you hear that?
Well, for me, and I guess I'm going to just define success for me, which would be to get everybody in their happy place, right? So
Aha.
I'm in there, right? So I'm in my happy place with a beaming smile on my face. And my goal with what I'm doing here is to get other people to be able to enjoy the amazing life that we have. Like we were just in Germany, right? And we went to a castle. Beautiful. It was huge, 300 rooms, blah, 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 right? I'm like, wow, this is really nice. But then I go, wait, they don't have air conditioning. They don't have electricity. They didn't have indoor plumbing. What?
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have cars. They didn't have cell phones. Like, the things that we have at our disposal that are literally amazing to people that would have just lived 200 years ago, 100 years ago. What? And we're so overwhelmed and busy and worried that we miss all these incredible advantages we have. Our lives are amazing. We just have to wake up and realize it. And when you do that and you live your life with gratitude and awareness and realize how good things are, it's really hard not to feel good.
Yeah, I love it. So Zen success is finding your happy place. And we wish that
everybody can get in their happy place. Yeah.
that everyone, exactly what Gary said, that everyone finds their happy place and can go there. How many times a day do you recommend? All the time.
Always. I mean,
always.
Will the
Okay.
stress come up and knock you out for a little while? Yes. But then you just have to change your mindset and then you're back in your happy place.
Ah, I see. Okay. Well, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you and hearing about your books, Mindset Matters and Highway to Your Happy Place, a roadmap to less stress. And I'll put your website and how to buy your books in the show notes.
Yeah.
And thanks for being on my show today, Dr.
Here's what I
Sprouse.
will tell people.
Yes.
Do not resign yourself to being stressed out. There are ways out of that box. There are ways to not feel so stressed out. You just have to do something and be willing to change, be willing to move around, but don't resign yourself to being stressed out.
Wonderful advice. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on.
That's it for today's episode of Zen Success. Head on over to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show and share with friends. Be sure to head on over to ZenSuccessShow.com to help you on your Zen success journey. And join us on the next episode. May you find your own Zen success in life.